When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
So Uber has been the most successful ride-hailing company in the world since its launch in 2009. And as the number one ride-hailing company across the globe, you'd think they would have a world-class security system to protect their drivers' and riders' information. Well, apparently not, as one lone hacker was able to breach security simply by posing as a colleague and tricking an Uber employee into surrendering their credentials, leading to a major security breach. With more on this, we go to Jacques Sauve, cybersecurity consultant, and his company is Trilogiam. I hope I'm saying that right. Jacques, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Trilogiam.
Trilogiam. Very good.
Yeah.
Trilogiam. Okay, so Jacques, let's talk about what happened here with Uber. Maybe we'll start off. I briefly referenced what happened in how the hacker managed to do this, but give us some more detail. Give our listeners some more detail on how this even happened.
Sure. Actually, it was brilliantly simple. So you kind of mentioned that he convinced an employee to hand over credentials. Not quite right. They stole the credentials from somewhere. They think that maybe he even bought the credentials out somewhere online on the dark web, which means that, yes, at some point that employee's credentials had been leaked, or he was using the email address and the same password for another service, because we know 97% of people reuse the same passwords on multiple services. So he manages to get the username and password, but they have something called multi-factor authentication. And you know those. When you log in, you put your username and password, and it says, okay, hey, we're going to text you a 6-digit code, which you need to put in here, and then you can log in, right? So there are multiple ways of doing that. One of them is just something pops on your phone and says, hey, is that you logging in? And you go, yes, it is, right? You click the button that says, yes, it's me. And so what this guy did was brilliant. He kept sending these authentication messages or these MFA codes to the user, right, because he was trying to sign in. And so every time he tries, it sends that message to the user's phone going, hey, is that you logging in? And, of course, he would say, no, no, no. Then he contacts the employee on WhatsApp and goes, hey, I'm from Uber IT department. If you want this to stop, just say, yes, agree. And he sends it again, and the guy goes, okay, yes, it's me. And then the hacker goes, thank you very much. And he adds his device, and he's in the network. So it's like, they call it MFA fatigue, multi-factor authentication fatigue. Like the guy's been getting these freaking messages for an hour now. Ding, 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 right? He's kind of fed up. This guy contacts him, pretends he's from Uber IT, and he goes, oh, okay, that's all I got to do is accept. And the guy's in. And once he was in, well, he found some scripts on the network that contained administrator passwords and credentials. And, hey, he got into everything. He got into their Amazon AWS systems. He got into their Slack channels. And, so far, everything I've read tells us that he wasn't able to get to customer data. Like, I have Uber. I don't know that I'm going to cancel everything, but there's no indication that he got to user data, credit cards, personal information, just to the internal sort of network.
So, Jacques, as a cybersecurity consultant, how do you guard against that? You can have all the systems in place, but if you have this brilliant social engineering to dupe someone, how do you guard against that?
Eliminate all the humans.
Oh no, we can't do that, Jacques.
Nice, right?
It's not.
He exploited the weakest link. We always say the last line of defense is the human, and that's what he did. And so again, it's a human issue.
So once you get through the human, okay, now you've broken in, you're in the system. There should be safeguards in place to maybe ring off alarm bells. Maybe there's a massive red alert alarm at Uber headquarters when they see someone trying to access this type of data. Is this how it was discovered?
No. The way it was discovered was actually, again, brilliant, humorous. The hacker gets in. He finds, like I said, so it sounds like the internal network was not very well protected because he was able to get into, some some directories on the network that contained scripts. PowerShell scripts is what it's called. And in those scripts, there were administrator credentials. And then, boom, he was into everything. And then he was into their Slack. I don't know if people know Slack. It's a sort of like Microsoft Teams where people can chat, exchange information, right? A lot of organizations use it. Well, he was in their Slack channel, and he went in and he goes, "Hey, guys, I'm a hacker. I just got into your system." Da-da-da-da-da. And he announced himself right in their Slack channel. That's how they found out.
Okay. So I mean, I guess that's a good thing, right? Because if the hacker's like, "Hey, guys, I'm here," maybe they weren't malicious in their intent. They just wanted to prove that they could do it.
I think so. I mean, we'll say it's a serious breach, and it's not unusual. And look how many companies this summer, UTA, BRP, right, Cégep Montmorency and Laval, like so many organizations get breached today. So, yes, it was serious. It doesn't look like they stole any customer data. And, yeah, it doesn't look like he tried to destroy anything or ransom them. He's just kind of poking fun at them, and having a blast. So.
We're with Jacques Sauve, cybersecurity consultant. His company is Trilogiam, and we're talking about a recent security breach at Uber, the world's number one ride-hailing company. So Jacques, let's break it down for users. You mentioned these hacks are happening all the time. If I'm an Uber user, what should my level of concern be?
Right now, based on what I'm seeing in the media and the reports I'm reading, and I've seen reports from cybersecurity experts, right now, I wouldn't worry too much. Like I said, it doesn't look like they got to the customer data and production systems. And it also doesn't look like they wanted to do anything really malicious apart from poking fun at them. I don't know. That's what I've been seeing so far.
Now, Jacques, I'll bring in another big story over the last few weeks here, which you must be aware of. The Twitter whistleblower, right?
Yeah.
Who alleges, hey, there weren't even these safeguards in place, right?
Yeah.
So is actually, when you hear this story about Uber, does it give you a little bit of comfort that, they had to try a lot of different things before they could be successful?
Well, here's the irony, or the thing that I find so funny in the cybersec industry is, when you talk to cybersecurity experts, pen testers, ethical hackers, they go, "Oh, it really isn't that hard to break into a network." And this 18-year-old hacker just proved it at Uber, right? It's not that hard. Yet, when an organization, whether it's Twitter, BRP, or Uber, when they get hacked, well, they go in the media and they go, "Oh, well, there was a very sophisticated attack." Mm-hmm. Well, what was it? Was it easy or was it sophisticated? By all accounts, it isn't that difficult to breach networks and get the data. It's I'm not surprised. We're seeing it everywhere. And I myself work in the SMB space, like small to medium businesses. Mm-hmm. And every time I audit them, it's like, it's no wonder there's so many breaches and business email compromise.
So Jacques, let me just ask this to wrap up this interview. For small, medium-sized businesses, is there a lesson from the Uber hack for people who are owners of small and medium-sized businesses?
Oh, hell yeah. Just like pretend you're worried about cybersecurity. That's what I always tell. The biggest problem I see in the market, especially in the SMB, they don't really think cybersecurity is important. It's not going to happen to me. It only happens to others until it happens to you. And you know what we know? Elias, we know that 60% of businesses that get breached, SMBs that get breached and have a data leak, right, and ransomed and extorted, 60% of those who get breached do not recover.
Wow.
They go bankrupt. They got to close the doors. They can't recover because the cost is huge. The impact on their business and their production, they close. That's sad because I know how hard these entrepreneurs work to make their businesses work. And so when I hear that, I'm like, oh, come on, guys. And so the number one thing is care about cybersecurity. Do something about it.
Jacques, we have to leave it there. I really enjoyed our discussion.
Cool. Thank you.
That's Jacques Sauve, cybersecurity consultant, and his company is Trilogiam.